The Pacers are 1-12. What on earth is going on? How did they reach this point? What can they do better? How can they improve on both ends of the floor? What role is confidence playing? And Bennedict Mathurin, will he be back tonight? What will it mean for the team in Detroit? James Boyd of The Athletic's going to join me to talk about all of it today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Hope you had a great weekend. Happy Monday, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and Circle City Spin, and today, much to discuss about the 1-12 Indiana Pacers with James Boyd of The Athletic. We're going to dive into lots of angles on this team, including how they got to this point this season beyond just the classic injuries answer. What can they do better on either end of the floor? Their relationship between their struggling offense and their defense, and some other ways that they could find at least some silver linings in the season. Then we talk about Bennedict Mathurin. He's upgraded to questionable for tonight's game in Detroit. Will he play? Could he play? If he does, what does it mean and why? The fit stuff might not matter, man. Just go get some buckets, Bennedict Mathurin. Really fun conversation. Always fun chatting with James. I guess we kind of talked about the Colts for a few seconds, his primary beat. Lots of good stuff. Let's just get right to it. The Colts are off this week, which means this week he just covers all of Indiana's sports teams for 107.5 The Fan. Instead of also the Colts at The Athletic, it's James Boyd, who, of course, used to cover the Pacers as well. James, hello. Welcome back. I don't think you've been on since All-Star break, perhaps. Things were a lot more fun last time we chatted. All-Star was in Indy. The Pacers were decent. Tyrese Haliburton was doing lots of stuff. Pascal Siakam, of course, at All-Star the most recent time. And now they stink. They are just the Nets beat the Wizards on Sunday, so it's just the Pacers and Wizards as the one-win teams now in the NBA. Who saw that coming, right? I had them with 6 wins by this point of the season. I've asked everybody this. Everybody's seen it. Everybody has slightly different opinions. What's happening here? What is your opinion on how this is even possible? Because there's just so many things pressuring this team's record at the same time.
Yeah, this is some bad basketball we're watching. As of late, worst start in Pacers history. And again, I covered the 2021-2022 season, which was god-awful. I mean, the first year in quite some time, they actually landed a single-digit pick. So I think a lot of it has to do with injuries. Obviously, not having Tyrese and Obi Toppin missing a ton of time, Aaron Nesmith, TJ McConnell, et cetera, et cetera. But now I think we're getting to the point where the competitive seer we saw early in the season isn't there anymore, because this team is getting blown out left and right. And they are starting to get a couple bodies back. But to basically walk into a game and know, at least from my perspective, I'm not saying for the players, but as a viewer, boy, this is going to be a 15-point loss before the game even starts, is so far removed from how the Pacers usually operate. And I think the losses, and it's human nature, are starting to really add up and pile up for this team. I know, listening to some of Andrew Nembhard's comments the other night, I do kind of agree with his assessment of like, hey, we got to kind of have like an F-it mindset, because only having 1 or 2 guys out there, really just one, it feels like, for most of the year, Pascal playing at a certain level and everybody else kind of not, it's not going to help you get over the hump. But just that grit, grind, no pun intended with the Memphis Grizzlies. But I just don't see that or sense that, the force that they've played with, the urgency, all the things that make them Pacers basketball beyond just availability of players.
When they were really hurt and they were losing in double overtime to the Thunder, or losing by 4 to the Timberwolves, or a missed buzzer beater against Dallas, or a made buzzer beater against Milwaukee, like, everybody got it. You know, it still was like, make some shots and this isn't good. They thought they'd be better than this, or they thought the results would be better than this. But like, at least everybody's like, okay, I get why you're 1-5. Like, you're really hurt and you've been this close to a much better record. And now it's like, wait. You're getting healthier and it's getting way worse. Like, from the start of this road trip they just went on to you and I talking right now has just been like the same pathetic loss over and over again. The last 3 being literally the same, where they start the game up 5-10 and everyone's like, oh, look, all right, there's the fight that we think this team could have. And then they just get completely pummeled by like 30 plus points over the last 40 minutes of the game. And they look completely helpless, and they can't go on a run longer than 6 points or something. Like, it's just impossible for them to do anything. And it is at this point now where you just said kind of what I think is interesting. And Siakam and Nembhard both talked about the required fight and aggression and mentality required to surge out of a moment like this. But imagine how it feels if you're a player on the Pacers right now. Like, we're going to be doing good old armchair psychology today, but you're 5 months ago. Can I do math? Yeah, 5 months ago. It's June 16th. That's what Game 5 of the finals just happened, right? Like, they were right there, and they know they're good enough. They just did it, and obviously they don't have Tyrese Haliburton. But even at times last year without him, they were much better than this. In Game 7, they were winning at halftime against OKC without him. Like, you have to imagine they came in thinking like, yeah, we're going to prove people wrong. We're going to be decent, and then they get so hurt, and they know why they're losing. But now they don't have as many reasons to know that. And it has to be so crushing from a confidence perspective and from an ability perspective to be like, dang, I can't switch roles and be as good as I was. Or like, dang, if we all have to change our role a little bit, like this whole house of cards falls apart. And now that's like seeping into all of their confidence and ability in a way that it just gets to everybody. And they're all frustrated and angry. You can see it in the way they're playing. I'm guessing a little bit. I wonder how much that is affecting them now versus actual just bad execution. Is just like there's a mental blockade, like Ben Shepherd jump shots. Maybe he's an overrated shooter, especially by me, but he's way better than this, right? Like, you could name a million skills like that. And so it's just been so weird to see them fight through this and have really no success doing so, right? They have the worst record in the NBA.
Absolutely. And I feel vindicated in a way, and I don't want to be right about this ever, but it was so obvious to me that, one, they were going to struggle a lot without Tyrese because he is their system. He's a top 15 player in the NBA. That's not an opinion. That's a fact when you get voted, literally, all NBA. You're a top 15 player. And I think people kind of overstated that because they thought, oh, they can just kind of moxie and give you some elbow grease and dive on the floor and they'll make up for it, right? That's just not the reality of the NBA when your talent disparity has been as drastic as it's been for the Pacers. But to your points, Tony, I think it's very hard, perhaps mentally, for every player to go out there and play a certain brand of basketball when you know your season's already over. Like you said, 5-6 months ago, you're playing for everything. Now, you are playing for lottery ping pong balls. This has to be the earliest I've logged on takeathon.com for the Pacers in a few years. I'm dead serious. I'm at the point now where I was watching AJ Devanza, the BYU game against UConn, and I'm like, man, could that be a Pacer? Darren Peterson, Kansas, could that be a Pacer? Cameron Boozer at Duke, could that be a Pacer? And I say this jokingly, but kind of not, because there is no light at the end of the tunnel to the degree of we'll be playing for something meaningful later this year. I don't think that's happening. Even if they get healthier and you get Ben Mathurin back at some point, and Obi Toppin at the turn of the new year, perhaps you get him back in February, whatever. I just don't see this team at this point being 1-12, digging yourself out of this deep of a hole to then play for something big time come later in the season. That's just not going to happen, in my opinion. And then the marginal wins you're looking for, whether it's personnel development, those things aren't happening either. I think Bennedict Mathurin, to his credit, was off to a blazing start this year, got hurt, and that's kind of, staled or stalled a little bit. And then Jarris Walker, I'm sure we can discuss some of that. That's disappointed me the most, probably, because I just don't see any progress from him. There's no identity in his game, force, decision-making. All of it kind of looks like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just out here. So when you don't win those battles either, I think it makes it even tougher for you mentally. So when you have Rick Carlisle, getting technical fouls on purpose just to get timeouts, it's like, that's not a sustainable brand of basketball. And it's disappointing to see because at some point, I think I'm kind of turning that corner. I talked about this a lot with Kevin on 107.5 The Fan, Kevin Bowen. The injuries can't be an excuse to this extent where we just accept the fact you're going to lose by 20 every game. That cannot be what we hold them to, because that isn't the Pacers. Like, we're not talking about the Hornets here. And no disrespect to them, but like, they're a team that always loses. The Pacers, under the Rick Carlisle regime, the new Rick Carlisle regime, they don't do this. So this is alarming, and it is disappointing that it hasn't looked any better. And like you said, it's gotten worse as they get a little bit healthier.
It's crazy to look at the teams that have lost X number of games by 15 in a row and be like, that is like comparing the roster, what you think in your head of like who should be better between that team and the Pacers. It's like, how are the Pacers in this group? Right? Like how it's crazy to see that difference. That I think that's part of why the blowouts are just so shocking. And you nailed the other part of what's made this so disappointing, challenging, whatever you want to say, especially if you like work for the Pacers, right? Is like pretend you knew they were going to be bad. If you're the Pacers, you'd say, okay, well, great. Then this season will be about Andrew Nembhard learning to point guard, Ben Mathurin doing his growth, Jarris Walker getting better, Ben Shepherd getting better, Johnny Furphy getting better, Cam Jones playing a little bit. We'll figure out some stuff at center. I mean, do they have any of those? Like, have they gotten any development silver linings this season? Ben Shepherd can like drive a little bit, I guess. Nembhard scoring quite a bit when he's asked to have the ball all the time, but like their best center has been their oldest center. Tony Bradley has been their best center, right? Like Jeremiah Robinson Earl has looked legitimately good compared to his peers on the wing. He's been on the team for 17 days or something like that, right? Jarris has been extremely disappointing. Ben Shepherd's been extremely disappointing. Furby's been hurt for almost the whole season. Taylor Peter got hurt. Who am I missing? Gosh, so many guys. Quinn Jackson got hurt. Obi got hurt. Neesmith got hurt. Nembhard got hurt. Mathurin's obviously been hurt. We'll talk about him later. Like, they can't even go, well, you know what? This stinks. Obviously, this record stinks. It hurts. But how great. These players are all better. Whereas, like, Wizards and Nets happened today. Like, Alex Sarr's balling, dude. He looks good. Like, Yegor Jamin's making more shots every game. Like, those teams are expected to have those kind of silver linings. The Pacers don't even have that. And so it's been I think that is also a push on your mental if you're the Pacers and their players. It's like, dang, like, what are we getting out of this at all? Like, it sucks to lose anyway. You know what that can do to a team. Like, you mentioned 2021-22. Their longest losing streak in history was the end of that season, right? It was 12 in a row. And they're approaching that right now, right? So they have to do something better, whether that's their young guys showing some signs of life, whether that's actual, like, win 3 out of 5, which doesn't sound that impressive. And maybe is not the best thing ever for their end of their season record, but with just like some proof of concept that these players are still good and know how to play basketball, just like anything to that vein. And it hasn't happened. And we'll get to this in a second, but just like, I feel like that needs to be a thing that happens before the in-season tournament break or whatever it's called, the NBA Cup break, because right now, none of the stuff that they would have viewed as progress is even close to happening. And I don't really know how they can get those things to happen. Everybody, quick break to talk about two great groups of people. First up is Robinhood. Your ambition just met its match with Robinhood. You play for the win, not just on game day, every day, locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. Let me also tell you guys about Game Time, the best way to get tickets to NBA games with basketball season officially here. Nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. Let's be real. Getting tickets can be a headache. Between waiting in queues, surprise fees, prices that jump, it's easy to get frustrated. You just want to cheer on your favorite team. Game Time's here to help. The app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. You can get tickets for Pacers Hornets coming up this week or anything else that you love. You see the price, that's what you pay. There's no hidden fees on the back end. You see the view you're going to get in the arena. The zone deals are a game changer, and you can even find NBA tickets for under $25. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go.
Yeah, that's what's fascinating to me is they've shot the ball so poorly, like historically poor, that it makes me think, like you said, is it a mental block? Is it contagious? Because, I mean, I get that they've had, G Leaguers playing significant minutes. I mean, Mac McClung was on the team for, 10 days at one point. But still, the guys who are supposed to make shots aren't making shots. And it just makes it even harder for you to kind of lean on your veterans, because I look at Pascal Siakam, and credit to him, he's putting up the same numbers as he always does. And he's a guy who, to his credit, makes zero excuses, even though I think excuses to a degree are kind of a cliche in sports where it's like, no, you don't make excuses. Well, they're not excuses. They're valid reasons. I mean, this regime, this team is not the one he was traded here to help enhance. I mean, that's just the reality of it. But when no one else can make a shot, look at the fronts that he's facing. He's getting double and triple teamed, and I've watched so many drives, and Caitlin Cooper does a great job breaking this stuff down. He'll drive to
the whole
the nail.
next team is in the paint.
Yeah, he'll drive to the nail, and it's like you're playing pickup at the YMCA, and no one moves. They're like, and we okay, a nice 3 dribbles, Pascal. Nice of you to spin the other way. We're not gonna honor anybody else on the floor. And that, to me, is probably the biggest block to them actually making any progress. You have to make shots. I get it. You can try harder. You can scheme up stuff. You can, do different plays and sets, whatever. But, man, they need some guys to just make a couple shots, because to have these types of shooting nights compounded by you not playing a high level of defense, it just makes it so, I think, easy to let the rope go. I mean, we see some of these runs, they're in a game, and then you blink, you go use the bathroom or whatever, you come back to the game, and they're down 20. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So that, to me, is disappointing, and something that I'm sure, we talked to Rick Carlisle this week, actually, on the radio, he will express some frustration over, because that, to me, is not something that you can, again, excuse. It's not just injuries at this point. And I wonder if it's like I've never been a high level athlete, but I'm very curious of how athletes approach it, because it's different for everyone. But is it something intrinsic inside of you that has to decide, I'm going to compete like this? But also, will that translate to you putting the ball in the bucket a little bit higher at a higher rate? Because right now, you only have 2 reliable people who can play since Andrew Nembhard returned is Nembhard and Pascal. Everyone else is kind of just out there.
So Kyle Taylor's been all over this in the best way. So obviously you've seen the stats and people have posted about it. I've talked about it. And sometimes I'll admit it feels lazy to be like, they're just missing, because it's always like, well, why are you what
there's a why
point
behind
of missed shot? Yeah. At what point of missing, this is 13 games now, is that a big enough sample to be like, well, maybe it's more than that? I wondered that in my heart of hearts of being a person, but Kyle Taylor is correctly tracked. This was before they played Phoenix, actually, so 11 games in. They were shooting worse than any team in 10 years. You can see I have the graph he tweeted about.
I know it was that bad. I knew it was poor, but dang. Ooh.
Their effective field goal percentage is that bad right now. And it's like, dude, you can tell me that all these guys are playing in harder roles or being guarded by better players or whatever. It's like, they're not the worst team in 10 years. Are you kidding me? Give me a break. They should all, basically everybody, I would say, maybe not Tony Bradley, that's it, should be making more shots than they are. And then, who I think is the perfect face of this is Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, because I'm not going to tell you that I think Jeremiah Robinson-Earl should be making that many shots. I think he shot 43% from the field and 32% on twos last year. Those are both better than what he's shooting this year. And he played for the Pelicans last year, a different team with worse shots and worse talent. Guys are just all struggling, even with the good shots. And so part of me is okay, yes, that is, unfortunately, because it's impossible to change anything to make shots go in better, I guess, confidence, whatever, is a big part of this team just being bad at this point. On the other hand, I'm it's like I already mentioned, it's 13 games, so that's one thing. Is there actually something to this? Do they need to tweak what they're doing in some way? Is there more spacing around Pascal? Is that their best way to start winning? Does that actually matter? Does that help you? But the same thing to say to this, though. If helping Pascal helps you win, some fans would go, no, don't do that. We don't want to win. It's yeah, but then you learn who's good to help you on the next good Pacers team. And those players are getting better. That still matters to some extent. So should they, I get that Robinson, Earl, and Bradley is their best starting 5, but should it be floor spacers? Should it be Huff and Shepherd? Or, I guess Shepherd's not a floor spacer, but Huff and someone better shooters? Should they be trying a different pace? Their defense was credible for a while. It's been god awful their last 5 games. They got to be better on that end, regardless of what the results are going to be. So I'm kind of caught in the middle of what you're saying, which I agree with, and I've talked about a lot. It's just this is pathetic shot making, just unbelievably bad. And then the game they finally do make shots, they give up 152 points, and it's okay, there clearly is also stuff they can be much better at, even if they're still losing, in a way that makes people go, oh, cool. they can kind of guard, or like, oh, this player's kind of good, or this works together, or something. It's a mess.
There hasn't been any of that. And
No.
to go back to the lone season I covered the Pacers, which was the year they traded for Tyrese, like you said, the end of the year, I think it was a double-digit losing streak, and they were trying to lose. That was obvious. I mean, that was the Malcolm Brogdon, Achilles tendonitis thing, and granted, this was not the Tyrese Haliburton calf strain, or now it seems like the Anthony Davis calf strain. This wasn't that. This was, we don't really need you to come back, you know? And I think Miles Turner might have missed the rest of the year, and it was Tyrese and just a bunch of people. And they were actively trying to lose. And this was the first time the Pacers ever really pulled the plug on the season in like 30 years. They had never done that before. And it worked out pretty effectively. I mean, you look up a couple years later in the finals. But this ain't that. And that to me is, again, disappointing, because if you're looking for something to hang your hat on, there is not anything there. We already knew Pascal was a good player. We've known that for years. That's why they traded for him. But like you said, Tony, the lack of shot making, the lack of continuity, and really, even if I just take offense out of the equation, the defense, these are guys that, I mean, again, a few months ago, you're saying, dude, I don't want to face these guys. Their physicality, their conditioning, they're up and down the court, they're hounding me. It is awful to see them give up this many points on a regular basis now. It's like you might as well pencil every team in for 120 on a great shooting percentage and some guy to have a career night, because that's what it's looked like. Yes, when SGA scored 55, the man had 20-something free throws, and it's SGA. But when you got Dylan Brooks going off for, 25 plus, and he's chirping and chatting, I just think that that's not something you can be excusing. And I wonder on that side of the ball what the disconnect is, because offensively you can point to, we don't have our regular shot makers, and also the default of Tyrese Haliburton makes everybody's life easier on offense, which I think is, again, underscored by this season. But defensively, what the heck, man? I don't want to be naive and think that it's just effort. I give Caitlin Cooper a lot of credit for always kind of breaking down, like, hey, there is defensive tendencies, things you can do better, but they just haven't done that, and it's gotten worse. It's snowballed to this point where I do wonder, again, does some of that apathy seep in? I don't want to say it's apathy, like you don't care, but maybe a better word is like doubt. Can we do this?
Yes.
Because we haven't done it. And I think that's a trickle-down effect.
One more break here, everybody. We got to talk about FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of a game, you just want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game way more exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com, sign up, and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Defense is weird because I sort of believed there's some people who were like, well, maybe without Ty, they'll be like as good on that end of the floor. And like, that's the only silver lining of his injury is like, maybe he could be a little better. But the other, so like, I guess, and they were 16th after 10 games, something like that. And I thought they'd be better on defense and offense this year, but there's two parts of this. One is they're not even reaching that level. They've just been completely awful of late. And thing two is like, I talk about this relationship with the Tyrese Haliburton Pacers a lot. Even if you don't have a great group of 5 defenders on the floor, if you score every trip, or like you have the top 5 offense and the other team's taking the ball out of the net, there's no transition, right? The Raptors just scored 30 million points in transition to beat you.
Facts.
Right? If you're setting up even with worse defenders, your defense has a better floor. And so right now they can't make anything. And they're, it's like, it's just this continuously connected both ends of the floor snowball effect that's just crushing them in a way that also has really, really hurt. And so for a while in these close games, their defense was good enough to mask their lack of shot making. Now they're making a little more shots, not enough, but their defense is falling apart and they're just getting their butts handed to them. And they're about to play the best team in the East by record in the Detroit Pistons. And then it's Charlotte. Can they beat the Charlotte Hornets on Wednesday, James? On one hand, I would think maybe. On the other hand, they can never beat Charlotte, no matter who's available. One more topic today with you, sir. I don't know if you saw it yet because you were being a good family man and probably being off the internet on the Colts bye week. Upgraded to questionable for Pacers Pistons is one Bennedict Mathurin. His toe injury perhaps approacheth the end of the recovery process. I'm not saying he's going to play. I am saying I've covered the NBA long enough to know that generally upgraded to questionable is a good sign in these kind of situations. And the fact that they aren't eligible for a hardship contract, also a good sign. Anyway, I'm rambling too much on the details of this. He returned last year from his labrum tear in Detroit, had 14 fourth quarter points, and they won the opener. One, do you have any expectation for what he could be? Because holy cow, was he hooping in his first 2 games before he went down? And two, how much can he help the Pacers? Because in their current state and style, he fits way better. And I think that was part of him playing so well early in the season.
2 things. One, the toe injuries are nothing to ever play with.
Scary. Yeah.
And I know people kind of dismiss that, and you can always tell who has ever had a toe injury or not. And again, non-high-level athlete, I've messed up my toe hooping before, and boy, that big toe.
Okay, wait, can I complain about one too? When a guy has a finger injury on his shooting hand and people are like, why isn't he playing? I'm like, because he'll suck. He won't be able to make anything.
Yeah.
He's going to be terrible. What do you mean, why isn't he playing?
I think Kobe might have ruined the people's like psyche on that. Remember, he had like the finger splint cast
and credit
thing.
to him, to be clear. But
yeah, but it's like, well, that's Kobe, right? You know, he just made things work. He played through everything. But yeah, the toe gives me a little pause just because it's kind of like hamstrings and things like that. Like, is it really good? Will it be fine the rest of the way? Is it something you have to manage? Like, will you be sore if you step the wrong way? If you step on the gas trying to get to the basket, will it flare up on you? But assuming none of that happens and he is good, I think the funny thing about Bennedict Mathurin this season was so much other talk with Chad Buchanan at the beginning of the year and Ted Wu and others and Rick Carlisle. It's like, we want him to play our brand of basketball. We want to make, quick decisions and, get rid of it. But now I'm like, we kind of need you to just go out there and be Ben, right? Yeah. Go get 30 if you can. Go be another shot creator. Go alleviate some of the pressure that is on Pascal Siakam to be like our main shot creator, while obviously Andrew Nembhard runs the show. So to me, I wonder how much of this opportunity for Bennedict Mathurin is development, if he's still going to be the same player he was even when Tyrese was healthy, which in his best version of himself, I still think he was attacking and slashing and kind of giving the green light. I think that was the Bennedict that we know and loved, and we saw it even in Game 7 of the finals where he kind of just put his head down when Tyrese got hurt and was like, all right, I'm just going to go get fouled and try to go score. So do you encourage more of that, or do you sacrifice some of that because you still want to preach this philosophy, moving the ball, quick decisions and stuff like that, or are you trying to get wins? Because if you're trying to get wins and you're trying to perhaps just find the easiest path to that, it's probably letting Ben cook. And he was. I think he's a special scorer.
Yep.
I think he's irrationally confident. And he is someone I could totally see first game back, like getting into it with Kay Cunningham, not in a bad way, but just because that's been like, chest to chest, talking trash, whatever. So it's an interesting needle to kind of thread, I think, Tony, because he's in a weird situation that's weirder than it was without Tyrese, because you're so depleted that you really can't look at Bennedict Mathurin and say, hey, I need you to, distribute the ball more. To who?
To who?
I mean, just go score.
To who? Right. So I totally agree, because one thing is like, we just spent the first 20 minutes being like, they can't score, their shots stink, nobody can make anything. You're going to go tell Ben to like, think about fit? Like, dude, him driving to the basket is easily more.
I was going to say, he can go get just at least some free throws.
Yes, easily more likely to be points than what they've been doing, right? So if they chase wins or development, like you could say, letting him cook gives you both. I mean, you're letting him develop potentially a style that may not be as relevant. It's still not a bad thing to have. As relevant to like the peak Pacers, whatever that may be in the next couple of years. But okay, great, you get better at that thing. But yeah, that's a huge part of it, is they've been missing a guy who can do that. They have one, and it's Siakam. And we already talked about that. He turns his back to the basket, and okay, here comes the whole Nets team. Oh, he's driving. The second he gets below the free throw line, oh, there's a second defender. Who are they sagging off of? It's Tony Bradley. It's like, who cares? That guys, if they make a three, they make a three. With absolutely no offense to those players, that they're just not shooters. So And he's playing with the bench too because he's a 3-stint player, and that group's even. It's just okay. We all understand it. So having one more guy like that to me was something else from Pacers Raptors that stood out. Is with both Nembhard and Siakam on the floor, the Pacers played pretty well. But when they only had one or the other, it was like they just can't get anywhere, right? And so Mathurin gives you a third guy that gets somewhere, that gets somewhere on the floor that like actually cracks a defense and makes something happen. I'm not guaranteeing that he's playing or anything, but I think it would be huge for them to have that, because not only is that good for the teams like psyche and morale to be able to have a better chance to win, but it makes everybody else like have an easier time, right? And that's good for the rest of the guys developing too, that there might just, even if it's not Mathurin setting you up, like him being a threat or like a good player will still help them all. So I look forward to seeing him for a million reasons playing, because it'll be something else fun to talk about in this not so fun time of the year for the Pacers.
You got to find something to talk about, right? I mean, we're doing it here
no, I could talk about anything
on your show, and I have a radio show I do every Monday, and through the week and weekdays, and so I'm thinking to myself, yes, it wouldn't hurt to have another player in that mix to discuss, and I do wonder, for Bennedict's sake, how does he approach it, knowing that he has a lot riding on this season contractually. I mean, I'm not going to sit up here and say, okay, well, like, will you be viewed the same as a commodity by other teams if you average 20 with 3 or 4 assists versus going out there and averaging 25 with 1 or 2 assists? Like, I wonder if that is a factor that helps or hurts you when it comes to your value. And I'm not saying this is someone where they're going to ship off or trade or whatever. He could very well be a big part of the Pacers' future, but he's in kind of that in-between where they haven't made a commitment yet. He hasn't made a decision yet on his future, and because of all the injuries, he's in a spot where it can be a little tricky to figure out what exactly you want him to be. And I do think Bennedict has a better chance of kind of thriving regardless than Jarris, because we've seen Bennedict do some things in big moments in the playoffs, play well, things like that already. And again, I don't think there has ever been a moment where his confidence has been shaken. And I'm not speaking for Jarris, but I do think that he's playing unconfident basketball right now. I don't think that anybody can watch him right now and say that that is good brand, confident Jarris. No. Decisive Jarris. No. But Bennedict is decisive. He gets it and it's like, all right, I'm going to go get fouled. I'm going to go get a bucket. 3 ball was looking pretty good earlier this year as well. Small sample size, granted. But how does that translate? And ultimately, does that help you kind of get out of this rut? And then also, they were asking him to lock up on defense. How does he help elevate that side of the ball too? Because it isn't, again, just one side we can look at. It is a number of things that kind of conflate and confound each other to a degree. And I think it contributes to what we're seeing right now with, again, the Pacers being off to the worst start of my lifetime for sure. And the worst start since the 80s? It's rough.
For the record, you mean?
Yeah, 1-12.
It's the worst start of any person alive's lifetime. They've never been worse than this through 13 games.
Oh, Lord. Okay, well, there you have it. There you have it. I was holding out hope there for a second, but yeah, man, 1-12, not ideal at all.
No, like, again, even the Jazz have 4 wins. Like, even bad teams trip and fall and find a way to win a couple. Like it's just not happening for the Pacers.
And they're not even close enough to trip and fall and get one. Like, that's what's crazy to me. Like, the games are over before the middle of the third quarter. And it's like, all right, so at that point, so you might, it is jarring.
That's what's weird
I'm not
to
used
me.
to this.
Is it's like they take a lead early, and then it's like slowly dipping away. And then at some point, usually it's the middle of the third quarter, it's just like, oh, it's over. Like,
yeah.
What just happened? They were within 5 and now they're down 20. Like, it just happened so fast. And they never have like a 10-0 response run or anything. It's so crazy.
10-0, they can't make shots.
Yeah. or get the stops.
Fair.
Like, they cut it to 7 or something in the third quarter of the Toronto game, and I was like, this feels different than anything they've done in like 2 weeks. Last thing I'll say, I'm not predicting this. I just am extremely curious Monday night specifically about the first place Pistons, who have a lot of guys who would like to break your will on every single possession, versus the Pacers, who have a lot of guys who at this exact moment appear to have broken wills, and how quickly that game could, like, that is a game where if the Pistons go on an 8-0 run, it'd like keep an eye on that one being over very quickly. James, I was late to something I scheduled, and my internet has just exploded in your face. So thank you for bearing with me for many, many reasons today. I'm sure everybody listening knows what you do, which is mostly non-Pacers, but not all. But where can people find you who don't know or don't follow you every day?
Yeah, you can follow me on the Twitter sphere at Romeoville Kid. I think it's at Romeoville Kid, pretty much every platform. I also have the James Boyd podcast. You can tune into that if you like the Colts and you want to see some winning for a change, and they have done a lot of that. It's like the Pacers and the Colts have done like a Freaky Friday switch, it feels like, from the Pacers finals run to now the Colts being number one in their division. So, and then lastly, you can check out every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, weekdays on 107.5 The Fan, the morning show with Kevin Bowen, Mark Dykton, and Jeff Rickard. So always talking, always chatting, and happy to stop by on Locked On Pacers.
If you happen to listen to this before 9 a.m., 9 a.m. on the morning show, you'll hear both of us again, I believe.
This is true.
I don't even know if you know your schedule tomorrow.
I got the text and I was like, okay, nice. See, were you in the saddle? I started to tell him, you owed me, but I was like, nah.
I actually do feel better about it being a time exchange, which is always better. I'm happy for you I'm happy for you as I texted you, because you were Colts, or excuse me, you were Pacers the year they were Buns. And then you went to Colts and had Wentz, right, the first year? And they were
I had Jeff Saturday my first year.
Oh, yeah.
So, yes. It was 4-12-1. That was an awful season.
So, James has not – this is his first good team in Indy. About time. Time.
It is about time. They owed me. Everyone owed me. I've got all the battle scars. But, no, it's been fun. And like I said – maybe it's just a curse in the city where you can only have one good team at a time, because it was like the Pacers were good, then the Fever were like, Caitlin Clark, you're not going to play really this year. And now the Colts are kind of good, and now that the Pacers are bad. So I don't know. But either way, thank you all for supporting and certainly trying to bring you the best storytelling I can along the way.
We should figure out when Caitlin returned to 5-on-5. Maybe that's when the Colts started to wobble a little bit with these
maybe
Pittsburgh and Atlanta games.
Exactly.
The Fever are going to be the team now. Okay, yes, everybody give James a follow. Check out the things he does, especially if you are a fan of the very, very good Indianapolis Colts. Half a game out of first place in their conference, not their division. Crazy. We'll be back here tomorrow talking Pacers Pistons. I'll be there. My favorite drive ever. Yes, I get to go through Toledo, Ohio on my way up to Detroit, Michigan. Although I do like Detroit. It gets a bad rep. It's a nice.
Is it still Little Caesars Arena?
Yes, I love that arena too. As you know, you've been up there. Best media food in the NBA. It's not even close.
This is true. This is true. Gamebridge, I love you, but take notes.
I will never say who for a privacy respect thing, but multiple Pacers players come in and eat the media food in Detroit. That does not happen anywhere else. I'll say
that is respect. I'm trying to think, like, that'd be a fun story to do with The Athletic. Like, what's the best food that players think is the best food?
Yes.
Because we always hear about media.
They don't go to a steakhouse. They don't bring in their food for us. So I'll just pop on into the diner.
Yeah, not a bad move.
Especially because the road locker rooms are by. I'm over-explaining. Back tomorrow from Little Caesars Arena talking Pacers Pistons. Thank you all so much for listening. See ya very soon.